am a child of the Disney Renaissance. I was born in 1989, the year The Little Mermaid hit theaters and changed Disney movies forever. Beauty and the Beast was the first movie I saw, and quickly became my favorite. The Lion King remains my favorite film of all time, between the excellence of the writing, the voice acting, the animation, the score, and the overall polish. As I grew up, I was traumatized by The Fox and the Hound, enchanted by Lady and the Tramp, and came to love the older canon as much as the new. So I was just about the target audience for Wish, 2023's celebration of 100 years of the Walt Disney Company. Wish was billed as a culmination of the company's history, the ultimate Disney movie that paid tribute to all that came before it while still being fresh and modern. I saw it without any hesitation. I don't even think I watched any trailers. It was a new Disney movie, and I had access to Disney Plus, so why not? I was hearing that the internet hated it, but they also hated Raya and the Last Dragon, which I found to be fine. Strange World never made enough of an impression to have much discourse, but I enjoyed that too. So I sat down excitedly to watch Wish, a return to the Disney princess fairy tale formula that I love. And it was bad. It was very bad. There's no point mincing words. The characters were flat, the conflict was confusing, the world building was non-existent, and the music has been well covered on YouTube. But Wish wasn't just bad. It was bad in the most enticing, fascinating way a story can be bad. There was so much promise and potential in the premise that seeing it fall so flat in execution was enraging. I hadn't felt this way since Five Nights at Freddy's security breach. So, I did what I do. I edited it. I've worked for the past 7-ish years as a freelance book editor and proofreader. My literal job is to take a story from its early drafts into an elevated state. I look at the elements that are present in the story the author wants to tell, and suggest changes to bring out the best in it. This video is a lot more work than I'd usually do for a client, which kind of made it fun. With just myself to answer to on this project, I had a great time introducing my own ideas and changing things up. At the end of the video, I'm going to read out the rewritten pitch that I landed on. If you'd like to skip straight to that version, you can use the timestamps shown on screen. Also, I know I'm late to this party. I'm not the first to try, but I do think my version is different than others. So, how does a professional editor fix Wish? Part 1. The problems. Before I try to make any changes, I want to quickly go through the reasons why I want to. What is it about the movie that doesn't work? Where to start? While I would love to ramble on about the bad music and the overdose of references, those points aren't relevant to my rewrite, so please pause on these screens if you want to see my extra thoughts. Point A. World building. The thing that stuck out to me as the worst during my first viewing of the movie was the lack of world building. This is a big picture issue, and in some ways a hard one to completely describe. We're presented with the Kingdom of Rosas, an island nation ruled over by King Magnifico, who has apparently been in power for the whole life of the country. That one lifetime has been enough to develop a whole culture around wishes and the wish ceremony, in which citizens give their heart's greatest desire to the king in a physical form. They then forget what that wish was, and go about their lives hoping that someday the king will grant it and they'll get to find out. Everyone in the kingdom seems completely fine with all of this. But that's about all we get. What do the citizens hope to gain from giving their wishes up? Do they know what their wishes are before giving them away? If so, what's to stop anyone from confiding in a friend or writing their wish down to get it back into their own head after the ceremony? What do they think the king gains from taking the wishes? And for that matter, what does he actually gain? All he does is quote-unquote keep them safe, but safe from what? What exactly is out there in the world that can threaten a wish? There's a line in the opening number about no what-ifs and no wonders, so presumably the people here feel comforted by knowing that they never had any choices? They can't fantasize about what could have been now that their wishes are in Magnifico's control. But also a heartfelt wish isn't the same thing as like a fantasy? What does a wish even mean in this world? We also know that magic exists because Magnifico wields it, but he's the only one allowed to. Is he the only one able to? What rules does his magic follow? How powerful is he? He seems to be able to grant any wish, but he's only shown granting 2. both completely within his mundane power as king. He gives a woman a dress shop and the title of royal seamstress, and he appoints a boy as his newest, most loyal knight. Do the people think that it's his magic letting him do this? Because it's not. I don't see any indication that Magnifico actually grants wishes that require magical intervention. So again, what do the people think they gain from this setup? They're surprisingly quick to worry about the safety of their wishes when the idea comes up that they might not be completely protected, despite having been completely happy with the situation until one random teenager brings it up. A large part of this problem is that the people of Rosas are really not treated as people. They're just plot devices, and that allows a lot of issues to spill out when they're not used consistently. Point B, Asha. In marketing, Asha was described as an activist. This was her defining feature, but in the movie itself, it doesn't make sense. In the real world, it takes people long years of thought and learning to start to go against their status quo. In Wish, it takes Asha approximately 5 minutes to throw out everything she's supposedly learned for her entire life. As we discussed, the people of Rosas are taught and seem to genuinely believe that giving up their wishes is for the best. They trust Magnifico, who's given them no reason not to. They should also be able to tell from plain observation that not everyone's wishes will be granted. Rosas isn't a tiny place. There are at least hundreds, if not thousands, of citizens, and the king boasts about granting, 14 in a year? So why is Asha surprised to learn that Magnifico doesn't plan to grant all the wishes? Why is her first thought to ask him to give the wishes back to the people? In what world does she live that she thinks anyone wants their wishes back? And in fact, when she tells Saba about it in a later scene, he doesn't want to know what his wish was. So where did she get the idea from that people should have custody of their wishes? Ultimately, this is an extension of the previous point. There's no coherent culture of Rosas for Asha to rebel against. When she does get into her activism, people are immediately ready to join her. She isn't changing the culture, she's just going against the king. That's not activism, just rebellion. As others have also pointed out, Asha has no character arc. She starts the story in one mental and emotional place and ends it there. So, we'll focus on giving her some growth. Also, why is Asha looking for a job when she has this weird tour guide thing? Does she just do that for fun? What the heck is up with Welcome to Rosas? Point C, Magnifico. I'll keep this brief because the internet at large has had many feelings about King Magnifico. In a nutshell, here's the problem with him as a character. He's not evil enough, and at the same time, he's too evil. Before getting into the corrupted magic of the evil book, Magnifico is just too nice. He seems to be generally in the right. Not all wishes can or should be granted. Afterward, he becomes a different character entirely, swinging around green lightning and trying to subjugate people for funsies. We don't need a reason when he's just plain evil, right? Sarcasm. That was sarcasm. The other major problem is that he has no motivation. Until Star comes down from the sky, everything's going his way. Once Star arrives, all he seems to want is to suppress other magic, and that only to protect his power. That's not an interesting motive. It feels as if Magnifico is at the same time a sympathetic villain who has let his good desires go too far, and a wicked liar who hides behind a mask of sympathy. You just can't have it both ways. He feels less like a complicated character worthy of the Disney villain legacy, and more like someone changed their mind about how to handle him partway through writing and never took the dregs out of the earlier drafts. For our rewrite, we're going to want to give him a consistent character and actual goals to achieve. Part 2, Diamonds in the Rough. Despite everything that I just discussed, not all of Wish was bad. So what are the elements that I want to keep? Most of what inspired me to write all this up in the first place was the potential in the world of Wish. Here, a wish is a tangible thing, something that can be taken away from you. The king has total control of the populace through manipulating their deepest desires. There's so much to dig into that it was heartbreaking to find the film didn't. I like the idea of a seemingly benevolent king who's gaslit his population. I like the thought of exploring what a wish is and what it means. There's real dystopian horror in taking the wishes away from the people, forcing them into a sad, dreary, mundane existence in which they can't imagine anything better. I like the initial pitch of Asha as an activist, someone who fights for her dreams and inspires others. That didn't really come through in the film, but it's a great starting point. Asha is determined to the point of stubborn. She's kind, well-meaning, and innocent. These are great traits to build a movie off of. I just want the activism to be her endpoint, rather than her beginning. There are a lot of reasons that Magnifico could have and should have worked as a new entry into the Disney villain legacy. He has a ton of power, ready to be toppled. While he has layers to peel away, he's not the kind of twist villain people have come to expect and revile. We just have to focus on giving him real motivation. Once he has a goal, he can have some proper agency in the story, acting to protect his own interests rather than because a magic book made him. And while I'm pretty amenable to throwing out all the music and starting over, there was one song that kind of worked for me and offered a lot of potential. That's At All Costs, the song Magnifico and Asha sing early in the film, when Asha sees the wishes for the first time. In the film as is, there's not much more than surface-level depth to the song. Magnifico declares his willingness to protect the wishes, and Asha vows to do the same. What I expected, and then never happened, was for Magnifico's claims in the song to be a lie. Or at least, an exaggeration. A self-serving justification for what he does, and that is fertile ground for a dark reprise. This movie didn't need This Is the Thanks I Get. A villain song was sitting in plain sight, a reprise of At All Costs where Magnifico goes deeper, explaining his true desires. Whether this is sung to Asha as a reveal or to himself as a soliloquy, it could have been an excellent mirror of the way the king represents himself to the public versus how he really thinks and feels. For that matter, At All Costs also functions better as an I Want song for Asha than This Wish does. It would be pretty easy to have Magnifico begin the song to set up for a later reprise, but let Asha take it over for the majority. Even in the final product, I Want to Protect the Dreams of the People is a much, much stronger reason to sing than I Wish There Were Something More. Something More worked for Belle, who felt stuck in the mundane life she lived, but even her song is more specific. Adventure in the Great Wide Somewhere and To Have Someone Understand are driving forces of her character in a way that Something More for Us Than This just isn't. Part 3, The Changes. Alright. We've laid out what the problems were, and we've identified a few things worth keeping. In this section, I want to go through my thought process as I was writing up a summary of a new version. This won't cover everything, but I will go over the most important changes I'm making to the story. The first thing I wanted to do with my rewrite was to make the people of Rosas make sense. Why are they so willing to give up their wishes to the king? What hook can we give them to make the society feel real? During the movie, I was waiting for the reveal that somehow the wishes granted power to the king, which never really came up in the way I expected. So I'm jumping off of that idea. Let's say Rosas is a city powered by wishes. We can make this very literal and create a sort of Magitech world. Unlike other places beyond the sea, Rosas has running water, electric lighting, radio, and other modern comforts. This is the reason so many people are so willing to make a sacrifice to live here, beyond the hunger and hardship of other places. To be allowed to stay, each immigrant or newly adult citizen must contribute their wish. Magnifico uses the power generated by the wishes to create all of the wonderful things that the citizens love. But he's not hoarding them. In fact, most people find their wishes granted within a few years. The king is able to see into the wishes, maybe in a way non-magical people can't, and is able to both keep the wish in the vault and tell the wisher what it was they wanted. It's a win-win. Magnifico places people in jobs that benefit the city according to their own wishes and desires. So everyone is happy. Now that sounds like a utopia, one that we can pull the veneer of happiness off of to reveal the king's lies. One other idea that I played with was that Magnifico could create fake wishes to give to people. In fact, I thought this was what happened with Simon during the movie, but it turned out to just be generic, bland, evil magic brainwashing him through his real wish. To simplify things, I decided the king can just lie. If everyone forgets their wish when they make it, who would know the difference? If the king says you wanted to be a seamstress and gives you a royal appointment to make his clothes, you should at least be outwardly happy about it and make the best of what you believe to be your wish. I will note, this still doesn't address the problem of people talking to one another. I can't imagine a group of 17-year-olds who don't gossip about what they're going to wish for and then compare notes when they get their assignments later. But, hey, it's magic. Maybe when the wish is made, all memory of it disappears from everyone, not just the wisher. I'm not the happiest about that solution, but it'll do. Next, I want to add a character arc for Asha. While Asha as activist is a good hook, I'd rather see it come at the end of the movie than the beginning. Rosas, as we've rewritten it, is a very communal culture. The needs of the many definitely outweigh the needs of the few here. Within that context, Asha is someone who cares a lot about other people. So let's lean into this as a people-pleasing problem. Asha has learned through her upbringing in Rosas and her natural kindness to put other people first. We can establish her as someone who allows her words to be interrupted, who stops to let other people pass on the street and then gets stuck behind a wave, who works hard to help Dahlia in the bakery even though they aren't allowed to eat the king's food, who in general chooses to put herself last and let others' happiness trump her own. Throughout the movie, Asha will learn what's really going on and discover a genuine wish not just to help people, but to lead them. She'll agonize over whether it's pure and good to want leadership for its own sake, whether getting good feelings and pride out of it means that she's somehow corrupt. Ultimately, she can embrace her role as a changemaker, someone who listens to her people and takes their needs into account, with the power to write her own destiny and the confidence to allow herself happiness. Let's move on to our other main character, King Magnifico. In the original movie, his motivation is confusing. He seems to both genuinely care for Rosas and throw it away in a heartbeat. He protects and safeguards the wishes, and then crushes them for his own power without thinking. Part of the problem here is the evil magic book taking over his mind, but that's something we'll be cutting from our version. I thought of an extremely classic fairy tale motive for a fairy tale wizard. A long time ago, Magnifico was a young man with a young wife. He was learning magic and finding his place in the world, but there was one heavy cloud in his bright sky. The couple was childless. No matter how hard Amaya wished for the blessing, the years passed and no baby was born. Seeing his wife's distress, Magnifico turned to deeper magic. He searched all over the continent, dragging Amaya with him, only to find no help anywhere. Magic had rules and limits. It could not create life. He became more and more obsessed with finding the power he needed. Eventually, Magnifico wished hard enough that he caught the attention of a star. It flew down from the sky to help grant his wish, but even it could not give Amaya the baby she so dearly wanted. Furious, Magnifico captured the star. He used its power to wish a whole new country into existence, a secluded island where he and Amaya could rule, where he could gather up the power of people's wishes until he finally had enough strength to blast through the limitations of magic. And he kept the star imprisoned, weakened by his abuse. The first wish he stole was his wife's, clearing her mind of the pain. Now this gives us a sympathetic motive for a truly wicked villain. Though he started in the right place, Magnifico could never let go of the impossible and focus on all the other good things in his life. In fact, this can motivate his philosophy that it's better to forget your wish if it can't come true. This version of the king doesn't need an evil book to take over his mind. He's already been corrupted by the search for power. While he enjoys the adoration of his people, everything is hollow to him because he cannot get everything he wants. I also wanted to give a reason for Asha to be at the center of this story. This is more subjective. It's not like it's bad writing for her to be a normal person thrown into danger and rising to the challenge. But what if, rather than Asha just happening to apply for this apprentice job, Magnifico sought her out specifically? With his powers, he knew nearly 18 years ago that a child was born who possessed greater wishing power than anyone else in the kingdom. As much power as he had when he called down the star. She may even have real magical potential. If anyone's wish can give Magnifico enough power to finally achieve his goal, it's Asha's. And even if Asha can't give Amaya a biological child, there's a plan B. Magnifico has seen other wishers want the trappings of royalty. When Asha gives her wish to the vault, he plans to tell her that hers was a changeling fantasy. She can become the Princess of Rosas, their heir and new daughter. This way, at least Magnifico can keep Asha by his side, and mold her to continue to run the kingdom in his image even once he's gone. We have one last major character to worry about. No, not that one. Oh wow, there really aren't that many. There we go. In my rewrite, Star is a major character. I'm not returning him to the Starboy concept that everyone wants to ship Asha with, as much as I do love him. I am, however, giving him a voice. As much as I like the cute mute trope, Star just has too much knowledge. He can be far too useful for exposition. And plus, we've tied him into Magnifico's backstory and that of Rosas itself. He deserves to be a real character. If we give Star a voice and the role of Ash's cute sidekick, we can also drop Valentino. No shade to Alan Tudyk, but I have no desire to rescue the talking goat from the original draft. Speaking of cutting characters, let's do some general trimming of fluff and filler. Ash's 7 dwarfs friends, gone. We can keep Dahlia and Simon to make a nice trio, but the other 4 we can just yeet on out of here. Ash's weird tour guide job, out. Having to interview to become the Sorcerer's Apprentice, not anymore. I'm not even worrying about Asha's mom and grandfather for this treatment. My goal for the beginning of the pitch is to get things moving as quickly as possible, but without shortchanging the relationship between Asha and Magnifico. One of the big problems I had with the first act was how quickly everything went down. It takes 11 minutes for Asha to meet Magnifico, and 10 minutes later they're enemies. I want to see time pass in between Asha beginning her training as Sorcerer's Apprentice and revealing the grim truth. Granted, I don't want this sequence to take all that long, so this is a perfect time for a montage. I said before that I want to use At All Costs as a dual I Want song for Asha and a false I Am song for Magnifico. It can begin as a swearing-in ceremony for her new job, as she promises to protect the people and their wishes. Then the verses can show Asha learning, maybe with some season changing out the window, different warm clothes in the drafty tower, and back to something looser in the spring. It doesn't have to be months and months, but we'll make it clear that this is more than a single meeting. This also gives the audience a little time to get to know the Magnifico that the rest of Rosas knows. Kind, doting, protective, safe. If we see him through Asha's eyes, we'll actually get some sort of payoff when he turns out to have deeper motives. Then, when Asha finds out the truth, we'll bring back Magnifico's part of At All Costs to be his villain song. Asha fleeing from Magnifico after this reprise, taking the captive Star with her, is the end of Act 1. This can easily be half the movie's runtime if we want. In between the scenes I described, we could have Asha interacting with Dahlia and Simon, with Queen Amaya, and with other citizens, including her family. I'm just not interested in writing out a full scene-by-scene outline here. This script is already long enough. Act 2 revolves around Asha becoming the leader and activist she wants to be. Once she's met Star and understands the truth about Magnifico, it's up to her to gather the people together to resist him. From here, I'm not exactly making changes to the story as much as I am making it up whole cloth, so I don't want to ramble on too long. I'd just repeat myself when I read the full pitch. The movie almost but didn't quite create a cool underground vibe. Asha and her friends meet in secret in the night, worried about being caught, but it could have been much better with a bigger group. What starts with Asha and 2 others grows bigger as the citizens spread the word of Star's arrival. By firelight in the woods, a force grows under Star, and under Asha. Soon enough, the citizens march to the castle. Asha steps up to confront Magnifico, giving him a chance to tell the truth and redeem himself. He refuses. Instead, he takes his last chance to get what he's wanted this whole time, a princess. While Asha was gone, he fashioned a false wish for her, to ensnare her and get her back under his control. But it's no use. A fake wish can't compete with her real desire to help her people. Asha shakes off the magic, and together, she and Star lead the people in wishing for Magnifico's defeat. And scene. Asha takes her place as a leader of the people, not a monarch, but someone who listens and synthesizes their desires into action. Maybe the queen becomes her advisor. I've got too much else going on to worry about making her evil like in the early drafts of the movie. Eventually, Star returns home to the sky, knowing the people of Rosas will be safe once more. So that's that. Now let's put it all together. In the pitch, I've added some extra detail where it felt warranted. This isn't a beat-for-beat script, but an overview and plot summary. If you've made it this far, and thank you, feel free to skip to the ending at this timestamp. Part 4. My pitch. Act 1. We open on Asha's first day at her new job, running through the streets and introducing us to Rosas and its people as she makes her way to the castle. She is excited to be working with her friend Simon, just instated as a knight to grant his own wish, and Dahlia in the kitchens. As Sorcerer's Apprentice, she gets to know Magnifico as a kind and charming, if arrogant man, who seems to really put his kingdom first. She was warned not to ask about the wishes, but she sees the wish vault door with a small glass bubble at the top. Inside it is Star in stasis. She's told it's just a magic knick-knack she doesn't need to worry about, but when Magnifico isn't looking, she swears she sees the little creature move. Asha trains under the king in light magical duties, flubbing up most opportunities she has to practice. She wonders why he would even keep her around when she does nothing but blow things up and make messes he has to clean. He seems endlessly patient, teaching her about the wishes and the way he's able to cultivate the kingdom. He also shows her a few wishes at a time, never letting her in the vault with him, but bringing one or two out to explain why all wishes can't be granted. Some of them are vile. One person's desire to enslave their neighbors and live off their labor. Some are impossible. Wendy's wish to fly with the birds. Isn't it kinder for everyone to keep these back and use them where they can do good instead? Yzma can't fill her wish to ruin others' lives. Wendy doesn't have to live with the knowledge that her wish can't come true. At one point, Asha asks what happens to the wishes when they're locked away in the vault, and she's blown off, redirected. All that matters is that they're doing their job, and the king is able to sort through them and give those whose wishes are worthy exactly what they want. Eventually, her curiosity gets the better of her while Magnifico is away. She sneaks inside the wish vault for the first time, but something's wrong. The wishes Magnifico showed her were warm and brilliant, even the evil one. In here they seem dull, faded, drained. She finds Simon's, expecting to see him as the shining knight he's becoming, but Simon wanted to travel the world and explore new places. What does this mean? Magnifico catches her in the vault and she confronts him. He monologues about the way he drains the wish power, the very life essence of his subjects, and redirects it to his projects. Then he makes the citizens happy by giving them new positions. What's the difference between getting a real wish filled and a fake one? He still talks of the good of the people and the betterment of Rosas, but it's becoming clear it's all a monument to his own ego. Now that Asha knows too much, she can't be allowed to leave. However, if Magnifico kills her now, he'll forfeit all the work he's done in secret to nurture her wish. He knew as soon as he met her that Asha had a wishing power comparable to his own, the wish that created Rosas when he found Star, and that he wanted to have her by his side to mold and shape into the most powerful and useful wisher in the kingdom. He monologues angrily about all the effort he's put into her, scaring her even more. So everything you did for me, to help me, you were only doing for yourself? This is a trailer line, so that Magnifico doesn't become another hated twist villain. Asha flees the castle, but as she does, she wishes with all of her heart to have the power to help Rosas escape the iron grip of the king. As the magic builds and flares out of her, it reaches Star at last and bursts his cell. Her power combined with his is enough to free him. The creature runs away with her, and Asha becomes the fugitive who stole the kingdom's power cell. Act 2. With time together alone, Star explains his origins. He also says that the true power of wishes can't be completely removed from the people. Magnifico may have stolen their magical power, but no one goes through life with only one wish. That would be silly, and make no sense. They can be taught to wish again, and if enough of them wish all together for the same thing, they can overcome Magnifico's solo magic and set themselves free. Asha reunites with Simon and Dahlia and tells them everything. Simon is shocked to learn about his real wish. He always had the niggling feeling that something wasn't right, but who was he to go against the king's word? The three of them set out to find others with the same feeling, and it doesn't take long to collect a large group. Once word spreads about the wishing star, the same figure of legend that granted Magnifico his power in his telling, they all want to come and see. The people march on the castle. Asha goes before Magnifico to confront him, urging the king one last time to release the wishes and give the people back their agency. But Magnifico has a plan for her. This is a special piece of magic he's been working on. He takes out what looks like a wish, but it's the wrong color, pulsing with wicked light. When he releases it, it rushes at Asha and slams into her chest. The next thing she knows, Asha sees her wish. She's standing at the top of the throne room with a crown on her head. The people cheer for the new Princess Asha. She has just been coronated, welcomed into the royal family. Amaya embraces her and calls her daughter. Magnifico looks on with pride. Asha has wanted to lead the people, and at first this feels true. But it isn't right. As the vision continues, the people won't stop groveling at her feet. Simon and Dahlia bow before her and won't stand to meet her as equals. Everything she asks for is given to her, even when she starts asking for foolish things. As the faces of her friends and her people swirl around her, willing to unthinkingly follow her every whim, she realizes this is not what she wants. The false wish breaks. Impossible, breathes Magnifico. But Asha is herself again. She has rejected his version of royalty, of leadership, and stands before her people where she belongs. Meanwhile, the people have seen the look on Magnifico's face and heard his shocked outburst. He was trying to trap Asha, and they all know it. Resolute at last, Asha leads them all in combining their true power. For both the good of the kingdom at large and the safety of each individual, they wish Magnifico's power away. His magic is stripped from him, and he falls into a tantrum before being led away to face justice. After defeating Magnifico's sorcery and freeing the wishes of Rosas, Asha stands in front of the thankful city. Star congratulates her on a job well done. He now feels free to return to his home in the sky. But before I go, can I grant a wish for you? Asha closes her eyes and thinks. I wish to be a leader, to inspire people. I wish to be someone who isn't afraid to stand up for what's right. Oh, Asha, I can't grant that wish. Her eyes snap open. What? Why? Star bounds into her with a nuzzling headbutt. Because it's already come true. Fade to epilogue. Sometime later, Asha embraces Simon. He's kitted out like in his wish vision, ready to leave Rosas and see the world. She escorts him through the streets to the gate, so he can see the people in their new normal. Much of the fancy infrastructure is crumbling and in disrepair. There is a cost to regaining control of their wishes. But some citizens are going over blueprints, ready to learn how to rebuild their comforts without magic. As Asha and Dahlia say goodbye to their friend, Asha spots a sad-looking person nearby. She sits beside them to ask what's wrong. They're feeling lost and confused. They always assumed they had one driving wish that would decide their life, and now that they know what their wish is, it doesn't help them decide. How am I supposed to know what to do now? Asha smiles. It is hard figuring out your own life, but that's what makes it worth it. All you have to do is look in your heart. Take life one day at a time, and someday you'll make your wishes come true. Part 5. Closing remarks. I barely know where to start after working so long on this video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. If you just watched the pitch, then I hope you like that part. I know I haven't included a few things that people really enjoy reintegrating from earlier drafts. And I could be just as happy with a version of the story that includes the evil queen as a villainous dyad with Magnifico, or a romance between Asha and Starboy. These elements just didn't happen to slot into the story as I was writing it. I love the community that sprung up around Wish, made up of people who wanted to like it and didn't. Some people are just dunking on the most obviously bad elements, and that can be fun too. But so many of us are out here exercising our creative muscles. There's a real positivity coming out of an anti-fandom, and that's beautiful. For now, this is the only movie rewrite that I have planned, but if you have suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you've done a Wish rewrite, tell me how yours differed from mine. I had a great time looking at other rewrite videos and still being able to feel like I had something to offer. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.